The Deep Space Reconnaissance Ship, U.S. Endeavour, moved through the dark void of space. Its mission was to explore and find anything unusual at the edge of human space. Commander Daniel Carter sat in his chair, watching the monitors closely. He had been in the Navy for many years, but something about this mission felt different. "Commander, we are detecting unknown ships ahead," said Lieutenant Harris, his voice tense. Carter leaned forward. "Show me." The screen displayed a fleet of alien ships. They were massive, their dark surfaces reflecting distant starlight. The crew went silent. They had never seen ships like these before. "Can we identify them?" Carter asked. "Negative, sir," said Ensign Pottle. "No known records match their design." Carter took a deep breath. "Send a standard greeting. Let's see if they respond." The communication team sent the message, but no reply came. Instead, the alien ships started moving. They formed an attack formation, their weapons glowing with energy. "Sir, they are locking weapons on us," Harris shouted. Carter clenched his jaw. "Evasive maneuvers. Raise shields. Prepare countermeasures." The U.S. Endeavour turned sharply, trying to escape, but the alien ships fired. The ship shook as energy blasts hit its shields. Lights flickered. The crew held onto their stations, shields holding. "But we can't take many more hits," said Patel. "Return fire," Carter ordered. The Endeavour's cannons roared, sending bright blue energy beams toward the enemy. Some shots hit, but the alien ships barely slowed down. "They're too advanced," Harris said, his face pale. Carter's mind raced. They could not win this fight. Their mission was to gather information, not engage in battle. "Send a distress signal to command," he said. "We need to retreat." The pilot turned the ship and activated the emergency jump drive. The engines roared as space bent around them. The alien ships tried to follow, but the Endeavour vanished into hyperspace. Seconds later, they reappeared near a human outpost. The crew let out a breath of relief, but Carter stayed tense. "Did the message go through?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Paddle said. "Command has received our report." Carter leaned back in his chair. This was only the beginning. The aliens were powerful, and they wanted war. Humanity had little time to prepare. General Elizabeth Grant stood in the war room at Terran Defense Command, her eyes fixed on the large holographic display. The report from the U.S. Endeavour had just arrived. The alien ships were unlike anything humanity had faced before. The room was silent as the officers studied the enemy fleet's formations and firepower. "We are outmatched," said Admiral Richard Caldwell. "Their ships are bigger, faster, and stronger. If they attack, we won't stand a chance." Grant crossed her arms. "We cannot think that way. We are humans. We do not surrender without a fight. We must find a way to turn their strength into a weakness." The officers nodded, but the worry on their faces remained. Major Alex Carter, a tactical expert, stepped forward. "The aliens rely on their superior technology. But what if we use strategy instead of power? We can fight smarter. We have done it before." "What do you propose?" Grant asked. Carter pointed at the map. "We need to avoid direct fights. If we face them head-on, we will lose. Instead, we should attack their supply lines, disrupt their communication, and use hit-and-run tactics. We must make them think we are everywhere. We can't win in strength, but we can win in strategy." Admiral Caldwell nodded. "Guerrilla warfare in space. It is risky, but it might be our only chance." Grant turned to the engineers. "How soon can we modify our ships?" "We need stealth, electronic warfare, and fast-moving strike teams." "We can start immediately," an engineer replied. "But it will take time." "Then we don't have a moment to waste," Grant said. "Every minute counts." As the engineers and officers left to begin preparations, Grant looked at Carter. "You will lead this effort. Choose the best pilots and soldiers. Train them hard. We will need their best." Carter saluted. "I won't let you down, General." While the military worked on their plan, The news of the alien encounter spread across Earth. Panic rose among civilians, and many feared an invasion. Governments struggled to control the situation, but fear grew stronger every day. In a hidden research facility, scientists worked day and night. They analyzed the data from the U.S. Endeavour and searched for weaknesses in the alien ships. Dr. Marcus Reynolds, a top scientist, led the effort. Their technology is advanced, but not perfect, Reynolds told his team. We need to find flaws. Maybe their weapons have limits. Maybe their defenses have gaps. Keep looking. Days passed, and the first wave of changes began. New tactics were tested in simulations. Stealth ships were built. Cyber warfare units were trained to hack into alien systems. Special forces practiced sabotage missions in zero gravity. One night, as Carter walked through the training grounds, he watched soldiers preparing. They were determined. They knew the risks, but they were ready to fight. Grant stood beside him. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Carter exhaled. "I think we can make them bleed. If we show them that we won't break, maybe they will think twice about attacking." The first battle had been lost, but the war was just beginning. Humanity was not ready to surrender. They would fight with everything they had. The Xilari invasion fleet entered the Proxima Centauri system, moving like a dark wave through space. Their ships were large and powerful, their weapons strong enough to destroy any human fleet that stood in their way. They expected an easy victory, but something was wrong. The human fleet was not where they expected it to be. The Xilari searched for their enemy, scanning the system, but found nothing. "Where are they?" one of the Xilari commanders asked. "They should be here." Then, out of nowhere, the first attack came. A group of human stealth ships moved in the shadows of asteroids. They launched their missiles at the Xilari supply ships, destroying several before vanishing into the darkness again. The Xilari warships turned to fire, but the humans were already gone. Admiral Karvak of the Xilari watched in frustration. "They fight like cowards," he growled. "They do not stand and face us." His officers were confused. The humans did not fight in the way they had expected. Instead of large battles, they attacked in small, fast strikes. They hit supply lines, communication ships, and isolated patrols. Then, they disappeared before the Xilari could respond. Major Alex Carter led one of the human strike teams. His ship, the Nighthawk, was built for speed and stealth. He and his team watched from a distance as another human squad destroyed a Xilari fuel station. "That's another one down," Carter said. "They won't last long without fuel." The human attacks continued for days. The Xilari became more frustrated. Their fleet was large, but they were running low on food, energy, and supplies. Every time they tried to regroup, another human attack disrupted their plans. General Elizabeth Grant monitored the battle from the command center on Earth. She could see the results of their tactics. The Xilari were slowing down. Their formation was breaking apart. "Keep the pressure on them," she ordered. "We are not fighting for glory. We are fighting to survive." The Xilari fleet, now weakened and confused, tried to regroup at a nearby moon. They set up defenses and waited for a human attack. But the humans had another plan. A team of cyber warfare experts hacked into the Xilari systems. They sent false signals, making the Xilari believe a large human fleet was approaching from one side. When the Xilari turned to face the fake threat, the real human attack came from the opposite direction. Human ships struck fast, targeting the Xilari flagship. Explosions lit up the sky. The Xilari, unable to fight back properly, were forced to retreat. As the battle ended, Carter looked at the wreckage of enemy ships in the distance. "They thought they could crush us easily," he said. "Now they know we are not so weak." Back on Earth, Grant received the news of the victory. She knew the war was far from over, but for the first time, there was hope. Humanity had shown that they could fight back. The Xilari would not forget this lesson. Captain Olivia Brooks stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, her face tense as she watched the screen. The human fleet had managed to slow the HFY, but now the aliens were striking back. A colony on Vega 6 was under attack, and she had been ordered to lead the evacuation. "How many civilians are still on the surface?" she asked. "About 10,000, Lieutenant Harris replied. "The HFY are moving fast. We have little time." Brooks took a deep breath. "Prepare the shuttles. Get as many people as we can. We will hold off the enemy as long as possible." The U.S. Valiant, along with a few smaller ships, entered Vega 6 orbit. Shuttles began flying to the surface, loading civilians as quickly as possible. On the ground, chaos filled the colony. Families ran toward the ships, afraid and desperate. Major Alex Carter and his soldiers were on the surface, helping to organize the evacuation. He stood near a landing pad, watching the HFY ships in the sky. The enemy was getting closer. "We don't have much time," Carter said into his radio. "We need more shuttles." "We are sending everything we have," Brooks replied. "Just hold the line a little longer." The first HFY strike came quickly. Alien fighters swooped down, firing at the human defenses. Carter and his soldiers returned fire, using portable missile launchers and railguns. Explosions filled the sky. Some HFY ships were shot down, but more kept coming. "Fall back. Get to the last shuttles," Carter ordered. Civilians screamed as the ground shook from enemy fire. Soldiers helped the last families onto the ships. Carter watched as an old man struggled to run. He ran over and helped him inside before turning back to his team. "We are the last ones. Let's go." Carter and his soldiers jumped onto the final shuttle as it lifted off. The HFY fired at them, but the U.S. Valiant provided cover. The shuttle reached space, heading straight for the ship. "We got them all," Carter said, breathing heavily. "Good work," Brooks replied. "Now we need to escape." The U.S. Valiant turned, its engines burning bright as it fled the system. The HFY pursued, firing their deadly weapons. The ship shook from the impacts, but the shields held. "Jump engines are charging," Harris said. 10 more seconds. Brooks gripped her chair. Come on. A final blast hit the ship, making the lights flicker. Then, with a flash of light, the U.S. Valiant jumped into hyperspace, escaping just in time. On board, the crew let out a sigh of relief. The civilians huddled together, shaken but alive. Brooks looked at Carter and nodded. "We saved them. That's what matters." Carter nodded back. "But we lost the colony. And the HFY are getting angrier." Brooks looked out into space. The war was far from over, and more battles were ahead. But for now, they had won this fight. They had proven, once again, that humanity would not go down without resistance. Admiral Richard Caldwell stood in the command center of Earth's main defense station. The room was filled with officers, engineers, and communication specialists, all working to prepare for the next phase of the war. Reports of the latest battle at Vega 6 had just come in, and he knew time was running out. "The HFY are pushing harder," Caldwell said, looking at the holographic display of the war. "We have slowed them down, but we have not stopped them. We need to change our approach." General Elizabeth Grant stepped forward. "We cannot keep running. If we only defend, we will lose. We need to strike first." Caldwell nodded. "What do you suggest?" "A direct attack on their supply bases," Grant replied. "They are strong in battle, but they need resources to keep fighting. If we destroy their supply lines, they will weaken." Caldwell turned to his intelligence officer, Commander Nathan Briggs. "Do we know where their bases are?" Briggs pulled up a star map. "We have located a major supply depot on the moon of Epsilon 3. It stores fuel, weapons, and food for their fleet. If we take it out, they will feel the loss." "Then that's our target," Caldwell said. "Prepare a strike team. We need our best pilots and soldiers for this mission." Across the fleet, preparations began. Captain Olivia Brooks was chosen to lead the attack. Major Alex Carter and his Special Forces team would land on the moon and plant explosives inside the depot. Meanwhile, the fleet would engage enemy ships to keep them distracted. As the US's Valiant and other strike ships prepared for departure, Carter and his team went over the mission plan one last time. "This will not be easy," Carter said. "The HFY will defend the depot with everything they have. We go in fast, plant the charges, and get out before they know what hit them." His soldiers nodded. They knew the risks, but they were ready. The fleet jumped into hyperspace and emerged near Epsilon 3. The HFY ships were there, guarding the supply base. The battle began immediately. Human fighters weaved through enemy fire, drawing attention away from the strike team. Carter and his soldiers landed on the moon, moving quickly toward the depot. HFY guards patrolled the area, but the humans used stealth and speed. Silently, they took down enemy sentries and placed explosives in key locations. "Charges are set," Carter reported. "We need to leave now." Just then, alarms blared. The HFY had discovered them. Enemy soldiers rushed toward them, firing their weapons. Carter and his team fought back, taking cover behind crates and walls. "Move, move," Carter shouted. "We don't have time." The team fought their way to the extraction point as the battle raged in space. Captain Brooks saw the trouble on her screen. "We need to cover them," she ordered. The U.S. Valiant turned and unleashed a barrage of fire, destroying HFY reinforcements heading toward the depot. Carter and his team boarded their shuttle and blasted off just as the charges exploded. The entire supply base erupted into flames. The shockwave rocked the HFY fleet, and their ships faltered. With their supplies destroyed, their forces retreated. Back on the U.S. Valiant, Carter sat back, breathing heavily. Brooks smiled at him. "That was close." "Too close," Carter replied. "But we did it." On Earth, Caldwell and Grant received the news. The mission was a success. Humanity had struck a major blow against the HFY. The war was far from over, but now, for the first time, the HFY were on the defensive. The destruction of the HFY supply base on Epsilon 3 had shaken the enemy. For the first time, they were forced to step back. Their forces retreated to regroup, giving humanity a small window of opportunity. Admiral Richard Caldwell stood in the command center, studying the latest reports. "The HFY are wounded, but they are not finished," he said. "We must use this moment to prepare for their next move." General Elizabeth Grant agreed. "They will strike back harder. We need to strengthen our defenses and find a way to predict their next target." Commander Nathan Briggs examined the intelligence reports. "We intercepted some enemy transmissions. It seems they are planning a counterattack, but we do not yet know where." Major Alex Carter, who had just returned from the mission on Epsilon 3, listened carefully. "Then we need to force their hand," he suggested. "If we make them think we are preparing another strike, they might reveal their plans." Caldwell nodded. "It's a risk, but it could work. We'll send out false signals, making it appear as if we are gathering a fleet near Alpha Centauri. If they take the bait, we'll know where to strike." The plan was set in motion. Engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged ships. Soldiers trained harder than ever, knowing that the next battle would be critical. Cyber warfare specialists created false data, tricking the HFY into believing that Alpha Centauri was humanity's next target. Meanwhile, deep in HFY space, Supreme Commander Vortek received the false reports. His advisors debated what to do next. "The humans are gathering forces at Alpha Centauri," one of them said. "They plan to attack." Vortek's eyes narrowed. "Then we shall crush them before they can act. Prepare the fleet. We strike in 3 days." Back on Earth, the human fleet stood ready. The trap was set, but there was one problem. No one knew for sure if the HFY had taken the bait. Captain Olivia Brooks sat in the command chair of the U.S. Valiant, waiting for orders. "Do you think they'll come?" she asked Carter, who was standing nearby. "They can't ignore an opportunity like this," Carter replied. "If we play this right, We'll catch them off guard. Hours passed. Then, finally, a sensor alarm blared. Multiple enemy ships detected. An officer called out, "The auxiliary fleet is heading straight for Alpha Centauri." Caldwell clenched his fist. They fell for it. All ships, move into position. The human fleet, hidden behind the planet's shadow, powered up their weapons. As the auxiliary approached, thinking they were attacking a weak target, the trap was sprung. The humans struck first, launching a surprise attack from all sides. Explosions filled space as missiles, and laser fire tore through the auxiliary ranks. The enemy, caught off guard, tried to regroup, but the damage had already been done. Several of their largest warships were destroyed before they could react. Vortek watched in shock as his fleet suffered heavy losses. This was a trap. The humans tricked us. He knew he had to retreat, but the humans did not let him escape easily. Fighters chased the auxiliary ships, picking off stragglers as they fled. The battle was won. As the last auxiliary ships jumped away, the human fleet erupted in cheers. They had not only defended Alpha Centauri, but had also delivered another major blow to the enemy. Carter turned to Brooks. "We just changed the war." Brooks nodded. "And the auxiliary know it, too." Back on Earth, Caldwell and Grant received the victory report. There was still a long way to go, but now, for the first time, humanity was no longer just surviving. They were winning. The victory at Alpha Centauri sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time, the auxiliary war machine had been outwitted, their forces defeated in a decisive battle. But Admiral Richard Caldwell knew the war was far from over. "The auxiliary will not accept this defeat quietly," he told his officers in the command center. "They will come back, stronger and angrier. We need to be ready." General Elizabeth Grant nodded. "Our forces are stronger than ever, but we can't just wait for their next move. We must end this war on our terms." Commander Nathan Briggs studied the latest intelligence reports. "We have intercepted more enemy communications. The auxiliary high command is in chaos. Supreme Commander Vortek is desperate to regain control. If we strike now, we might be able to force them into surrender." Caldwell took a deep breath. "Then it's time. We take the fight to their home world." The plan was ambitious. Humanity had fought defensively for years, but now they would go on the offensive. The target was Silera Prime, the heart of the Silari Empire. A direct assault would be impossible, but a precision strike could cripple their leadership and force them to negotiate. Captain Olivia Brooks and Major Alex Carter were chosen to lead the mission. The U.S. Valiant, along with a fleet of elite warships, would escort a small infiltration team to the enemy capital. If they could disable the auxiliary command structure, the war could end in humanity's favor. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading deep into enemy territory. They moved carefully, avoiding detection until they reached the outskirts of Silera Prime. The auxiliary defenses were strong, but human cyber specialists hacked into their systems, creating openings for the fleet to advance. "We have a clear path," Briggs reported, "but it won't last long." "Then we move now," Brooks ordered. "Carter, your team is up." Carter and his soldiers landed on the planet, moving swiftly through the shadows. The auxiliary were on high alert, but the humans used their training and technology to evade detection. Step by step, they approached the central command center. Inside, Supreme Commander Vortek was in a heated argument with his generals. "The humans have humiliated us. We must strike back with all our strength." But Supreme Commander, one of his advisors, hesitated. "Our forces are scattered. If we attack now, we may lose everything." Before Vortek could reply, alarms blared. "Intruders. Humans have infiltrated the capital." Carter and his team breached the command center, engaging in a fierce firefight with Silari guards. The battle was intense, but the humans pressed forward. They reached the control room and planted explosive charges on key systems. "Charges set," Carter radioed. "We need extraction now." The U.S. Valiant swooped in, dodging enemy fire as it picked up the team. As they escaped the atmosphere, the explosives detonated. The auxiliary command structure was crippled, their ability to coordinate large-scale attacks shattered. Back in space, the human fleet fought off the last wave of auxiliary defenders. With their leadership in chaos, the remaining enemy forces hesitated. One by one, auxiliary ships powered down their weapons. A transmission came through. It was an auxiliary general. We surrender. The war is over." Cheers erupted across the human fleet. After years of bloodshed, humanity had done the impossible. They had faced a superior enemy and won. Caldwell received the news on Earth. He closed his eyes and let out a breath of relief. "We did it. We survived." Brooks and Carter stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, looking out at the stars. The war was over, but they knew the future would bring new challenges. "We proved that humanity will not be defeated," Brooks said. Carter nodded. "And we showed them the human way of war." Humanity had won its place among the stars, not just through strength, but through strategy, resilience, and the unbreakable will to fight for survival.